Hey everyone, welcome back to more PoE, and today we've got the first Saviour build of the league. Yes, it is a bit late considering that Heist is entering its third month, but it's all good because the build is something new around here. This is a Perforate Champion using the Saviour and the Paradoxica and a couple of other interesting pieces of gear. And just by hearing that description you can probably guess the kind of damage that we are pulling off on some encounters. What can I tell you, Impale is that good. But to be quite honest, it's the skill that makes this character, as I have never played with Perforate, but after being stuck in build limbo for a little bit, I did recall having somebody ask for Perforate, so you know what, I decided to might as well give it a shot. And it was a good shot, because this ended up being quite fun and you'll see that from the gameplay. Today I've got Sirus, Shaper, Elder and Catalina. I would have liked to have a Cortex too, but those are 6 Exiles right now, and I am too cheap to go there, so all the mentioned bosses should suffice, right? However, before I continue with the standard procedure, yes, this video wasn't supposed to be a Perforate Champion. I wanted to do something with Winter Orb and a Chieftain just like I did a year ago, and with all honesty, it just wasn't working out at all. It was very bad and unfun. And if I'm not having fun with something, I'm not gonna post it. Certain stones are better left unturned, and in the case of that build, maybe when Harvest comes back, or until Winter Orb gets buffed. We'll see. Also, I am planning on a stream later down the week. Quite possibly Thursday or Friday, but I'm waiting for YouTube to let me share community posts so that I can spam your feeds with the link. The stream is probably gonna focus around the next build, so if you are interested in watching me figure out stuff live, keep an eye out for that stream link. Also, if you wanna go hang out or something, you know the deal. Anyways, if you enjoy the content, be sure to subscribe to the channel, otherwise a rating and a comment are always appreciated. And also the video is timestamped for your convenience. And with all of that said, let's use the Red Mean Baby Ground Slam for DPS purposes. Now, to be totally honest, this skill tree is very similar to other melee, specifically Impale melee builds on the channel. But to be quite honest, there really isn't much room for creativity with these ones nowadays. Unless it was an assassin like the Chain Hook build, things like this are gonna be a bit similar. For the Ascendancy, indeed it is a champion, and we want Fortify accessories, Permanent Fortify, Impale and Adrenaline. As it is customary, we are gonna be triggering Adrenaline with a Purity of Fire and Blood magic setup, and it is used for single target purposes only. I'm also doing Permanent Fortify because I am not using the support gem in the gem setup. The other alternative is getting a Saviour with a Fortify on hit implicit, but those are kinda expensive, so we are not gonna go there at all. This is a level 95 duelist champion that's sided with Alira for crit and resists. Personally, I think that 93 is enough, as the last 2 nodes are live nodes, but 93 should be the base to aim for in order to allocate the important stuff. As for the rest of the skill tree, it is pretty standard stuff. I have a little pride with Warriors under Akoya, which turns any keystone in range into Chain Breaker to generate rage. This is only used for single target, especially to trigger Berserk. From there on out, we want life, dual wielding, impale, fortify stuff, melee crit stuff, sword crit stuff, life, instant war cries, rage and attack speed, more impale, more life, then we go towards iron reflexes, some additional dual wielding stuff, crit while dual wielding, some life, sword crit, more life, more crit and a couple of jewel sockets, also a large cluster jewel setup. This large cluster jewel has Drive the Destruction, Smite the Weak and Fuel the Fight, which is not getting allocated. Remember that 8 passives at most, or else you're gonna have to overspend points and you'll have to overlevel to allocate everything else. For the medium cluster, it has 5 passives at most with Evil Eye and Exploit Weakness. We also have a Watcher's Eye with crit multi while affected by Precision. However, you can always mix and match mods from both Precision and Pride on a Watcher's Eye for even more damage. Obviously, the best one is Extra Impales, but that is expensive, so that's up to you. The other 3 rare jewels have increased the maximum life, global accuracy rating and also some damage stuff, things like crit multi, crit chance damage, etc. Also, one of them has some intelligence, since we need like 85 intelligence in total for the character. But that's it for the skill tree. It's pretty simple and really there is no other thing to talk about. And with all of that said, let's move on to the gear. The gear that the character is wearing is actually a pretty standardized procedure. We are dual wielding a Paradoxica and the Saviour, though the Saviour is the important one on the build, because this is the backbone of the entire character, as the Saviour spawns 2 clones that together deal 100% of your damage, which means you are technically doubling your damage output while they are up. In paper, another Paradoxica or a good one-handed weapon is gonna beat the Saviour, but in practice this sword comes out on top, which is why the sword is integral to the character. Paradoxica is here because it is pretty hard to beat unless you have like a 450 plus physical DPS thrusting sword, and that is too much work, so this one does just fine, and it pairs nicely with the Saviour, so it's all good in the end. And moving on to the gear, I am repurposing some things, but also using some new stuff. Things like the amulet, which has life, crit chance, fees damage to attacks, resists, and mana cost of non-channeling skills. I also anointed Panopticon to buff the bonuses from the ancestral totems. One of the rings has vulnerability on hit, life, fees damage to attacks, crit multi, accuracy, and a resist. I crafted this one by spamming essences of scorn until I hit the mods on it. I recommend doing the same thing. And the boots have life, dexterity, resistances, and movement speed. Nothing more, nothing else. Now for the other stuff. The helmet is a crown of the inward eye, but this one has perforate damage as the enchantment. Optimally though, perforate creates +2 spikes is a better option. If you cannot find the helmet, a rare helmet with the spikes enchantment is good enough. The body armor is an insult to injury. I say that because it's an exploded chest with power charges on crit strikes, life, and multi-modded life and resists. Will you believe me that I found this one for 14 Exiles on trade with a crappy multi-mod? Even though I had to put more currency into it, it was worth it in the end. In your case, if you cannot find a similar chest, the exploding mod alone is good enough. You can also weaken or slam it with frenzies on hit, and that should be pretty good. The belt is a Stygian bias with life and resistances. The jewel on the belt has crit multi, life, and accuracy. The gloves are spiked gloves with life, attack speed, chaos resistance, and a bench crafted damage during any flask effect. And the other ring is a chunker. It has onslaught on hit as the implicit, life, feast damage to attacks, and resistances. I had to recraft this one because I sold the previous onslaught ring that I have. I could have saved some currency, but sometimes it do be like that. Finally, for flasks, a diamond, a lion's roar, and a sulfur flask. If you happen to own a bottle fate, it replaces the sulfur flask. And now, to wrap up the build stuff, the gem setups. In the body armor, Perforate, Impale, Brutality, Multistrike, Anomalous, Ruthless, and Melee Fizz. In the helmet, Blood and Sand and a Void linking it to Blood Magic and Purity of Fire, as that setup is to trigger Adrenaline for single target. In the gloves, a low level Precision, Pride, Flesh and Stone, and all of them are linked to Enlighten level 3. In the boots, Vaal Ancestral Warchief, Phantasmal Ancestral Protector, and both of them are linked to Maim, also a portal gem. In the Paradoxica, Enduring Cry and Flame Dash, both linked to Second Wind, and in the Saviour, Blood Rage and Berserk. And with all of that said, let us conclude this Saviour build episode. It is good, really good, and I'm pretty sure that I've built stronger Saviour characters, but this one is still really good. For a first time Perforate, it did more than enough. The clear is really fun because it's a big swirly bunch of spikes all around you. Since you'll be swapping between sand stands and blood stands for mapping and bossing, it feels very smooth to play with. No gem swap needed, just the press of a single button. Also, I don't have frenzies during bosses, but that's okay because I've got power charges. This changes if your chest has the power charge or frenzy charge on hit mod, depending on your personal choice and budget. With all honesty, frenzies are stronger than power charges for the character, so in the end the choice is yours. Yes, the onslaught ring is god stupid expensive, before crafting, but it's such a good thing to have. I genuinely hate myself for selling the old one. I had to acquire a new base and craft it, which wasn't too bad, but it's one of those things that you shouldn't skip on if possible. Everything else is doable and acquirable, if that's a word. You know what to expect from a champion. They are strong with Impale, and this is no exception. So if you have the chance to build it, do it, you won't regret it. And again, before I go, a stream later this week. I'm waiting on YouTube to give me the community post feature and I should be able to begin that chapter. It should be fun, we gotta put the next build together during that stream I think. But yeah, that's it for me. I wanna thank you so much for watching the video and remember to subscribe if you are new around here. Take care, have a nice start to your week and I'll catch you again soon enough with more PoE stuff. Peace out.
What's this? A real challenge? You've finally caught my attention. The others found strength in their projections. They became reliant on them. I am not so foolish. Die.
I have seen beyond.
Die. Be silent.
Watch beauty crumble. Why resist? Fury of the cosmos! Glorious flames! Rain of stars!
Is life really interesting enough to warrant all this pain? Die.
Beyond, there is only horror.
Die.
Why run?
I can't
What's
do this
the
just
point?
yet.
Obliteration! Pointless!
The edge of death, my heart races.